Hello everyone, it's me again, Tom Colohue. Look at me, Mr. 2 streams on YouTube 1 week, in fact in 2 days. Today we are doing a 1 hour show. I need to take that off because that's not pertinent to it. Yeah. That off. And that off. Because again, that's not pertinent to us here, because right now we're on YouTube rather than Twitch. For those who don't know, I am Tom Colohue, and today I'm just going to be taking you through a mock draft. Now, we've done this yesterday on Twitch, but I feel that now is a great time to do it one more time. For those of you on YouTube who may have either missed the show yesterday or do not have Twitch, we can run through it, and then an hour from now, we'll be going into our WWE Extreme Rules 2021 full show watch party, which you can catch in the pinned comment over on twitch.tv/Tom Colohue. What we're going to be doing today is keeping it nice and simple, to be completely honest. We are going to be going through a I keep getting that wrong, a PowerPoint presentation, Drew Gulak style, that I have prepared, which covers the top 30 draft picks in a mock draft for Raw and Smackdown. The general rule to be aware of is that this is only featuring superstars on Raw or on Smackdown at this point in time. There is no plan for me to use anyone from NXT and cover any call-ups and the like. We are just talking Raw and Smackdown. Apologies, it's a bit warm, I'm going to turn the off. But we're just going to be covering those two shows and the people contained therein. There will be people staying on Raw, people staying on Smackdown, and of course people moving across from Raw to Smackdown and Smackdown to Raw. What I'd like you guys to do is tell me when you think I've done it completely wrong. The reason I want to do this now, rather than say in a couple of days, is because we're about to have Extreme Rules 2021. And if someone could tell the WWE that, that'd be great, because we have one Extreme Rules match that was always going to be Extreme Rules because there's a demon involved. There's an actual demon, well, there's not an actual demon involved. There's a demon king involved. So either way, there's a lot going on when it comes to the Demon King. There's a lot going on when it comes to Extreme Rules, and there is just in general a lot going on that could affect an upcoming draft. So with that in mind, I have prepared myself a PowerPoint presentation of everyone I expect to see changed. It's a top 30. There is literally just the top 30 listed people. Not all of them will be swapping. Some of them will stay on Raw, some of them will stay on SmackDown. All in all, it's about 40% changes. And then at the end of each 5, I'll do a brief recap. And at the end of the show, I will essentially show you the list of the tag team division, the women's division, and the men's division, and ask you who won between Raw and SmackDown. This is, of course, further to conversations and news that we've been posting here on YouTube, discussing, for example, the fact that Fox and USA are facing something of an ongoing war for the rights to Roman Reigns, which is something we will definitely be keeping an eye on. So let's jump straight to it. I'm going to hop over to the other side and essentially bring up my spreadsheet. Nope, still not spreadsheet. Our PowerPoint right there. If you are live and watching, please do say hi. This is an Ask Me Anything stream, so literally any questions I get, I will be answering as best I can. Straight after this show, we will be going into the WWE Extreme Rules 2021 full show. We'll be having the full show and full watch party, full side cast as it were, over on Twitch. So we're going to be running with this spreadsheet PowerPoint for about 45 minutes before moving back. Any questions you have, I'll do everything I can to answer, of course, as aforementioned. So to start with our number 30 in this mock draft, the 30th entrant for me is Jeff Hardy. Now, Jeff Hardy in this mock draft will be staying on Monday Night Raw. Jeff Hardy's a bit of an odd one. I struggled a little bit to come up with a place for him and a purpose for him. Jeff Hardy for me was a very difficult one to place because the WWE seemed to kind of forget that he's there and forget that he exists. And it makes it very difficult to be able to go out there and say, okay, this is what I think should happen with Jeff Hardy. And even more pertinently, this is what I think will happen with Jeff Hardy. I can't sit here and say I think anything is going to happen with Jeff Hardy, other than the fact that he often gets forgotten and lost in the shuffle. That's a difficult position for him to be in, and it makes it very, very awkward for anybody watching to really commit to getting behind the guy. For me, Jeff Hardy stays on Raw. As names start to fill up and I start to show you who's moving across, you may see some faces that he can work very well with, but Jeff Hardy for me is a bit lost in the shuffle, and that's why he's all the way down in number 30 in this mock draft. Number 29 for me is Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn in this is staying on SmackDown Live. Sami Zayn's in an equally difficult position to Jeff Hardy, although of course there are reports that Sami Zayn's contract is coming to an end very, very shortly. So he's in a difficult position here of perchance being drafted but not really knowing what they're going to do with him, if anything at all. He has some people to impress and some proving himself to do. For me, SmackDown Live suits Sami's talent more, and that includes working with the Mysterios, what he's been doing recently. It includes working with other names who are going to be brought in, who I am changing from Raw to SmackDown. The Sami Zayn choice does make more sense as the whole picture starts to emerge. Stay tuned for more information as this one develops. My number 28 is Baron Corbin for Monday Night Raw. And from where I'm sitting here, the change for Baron Corbin is a very necessary one. It's the first change that I've actually got listed. And for, if nothing else, Baron Corbin has had a very strong refresh recently with Deadbeat Corbin, now evolving into Happy Corbin. He's a very different character to the last time he was on Raw. I feel there is a block between him and actual championship gold on SmackDown, although he could theoretically, hypothetically be chasing an Intercontinental Championship. I feel there is more to him that he can deliver a little bit more strongly going forwards, and I feel he works better with certain powerhouses. Raw, as you'll see from the names that start to emerge, are basically there for, how to describe this? Raw is more likely for me to be the land of the giants going forwards. That is my expectation for how Raw is going to pan out, and I think it makes the most sense to be consistent with that. Raw will be the land of the giants, and with that in mind, Baron Corbin fits better on Raw, where he can compete with Big E's, Damian Priest. I'm excited by the idea of Corbin versus Priest. 27 is another change, this time in the tag division. I have Mansoor and Mustafa Ali moving to SmackDown Live. Now this isn't just for the tag team division, it's also for the single division, because if you consider how well Mustafa Ali did on SmackDown previously, I think the tag team and both men in singles competition have a lot to offer. Mansoor and Mustafa Ali really can change the way that certain individuals are perceived, and I think that would be a big help going forwards. In a locker room that contains a Sami Zayn, that contains Kevin Owens, that contains Finn Balor, that contains Roman Reigns as much as anything, there are many different ways to play it, and I think the presence of Mansoor and Ali working with the Usos, working with the Street Profits, is also a huge balm to the tag division as well. 26, we have Rhea Ripley remaining on Monday Raw. Rhea Ripley remains Raw. Bit of a tongue twister is. Rhea Ripley for me is just scratching the surface of what she can do, and much like in the men's division, the women's division on Raw, headlined by Charlotte Flair, is a bit of a land of the giants. When you consider you've got Nia Jax, you've got Shayna Baszler, you've got powerhouses by the dozen on Monday Night Raw. My hope is that they continue to do so, and if we're going that way, let's lean all the way into it, and let's have Rhea Ripley staying on Raw, where she will compete for top titles for years to come. That was 30 to 26, our first 5. Hello Riffing, how are you doing, mate? Welcome. So in 30 we have Jeff Hardy remaining on Raw. In 29, Sami Zayn staying on SmackDown. Then some changes. In 28th position, Baron Corbin moving to Raw. The 27th, Mansoor and Mustafa Ali moving to SmackDown into the tag division, but also potentially for singles competition. And in 26, Rhea Ripley moving to Raw. Let me know if you profoundly disagree with any of those names. Oh, that's good. So let's move on to 25 to 21, our next 5 picks for this mock draft before Extreme Rules 2021. In 25th place, we have Cesaro moving across from SmackDown to Raw in a move that for me just makes a lot of sense. Cesaro's time on SmackDown has been very good. He's had the WrestleMania match with Seth Rollins. He's had the championship match with Roman Reigns. He's been treated like a much bigger deal than he has been in previous times on Raw. Previously, there's been times where I feel his strongest period would have been as part of the Bar. That just, I feel that's the strongest period that he's had so far. Hello, new mate. How are you doing? Thank you for... With that in mind, I think Cesaro adds a lot to Raw. He can feud with a Bobby Lashley. He can feud with a Damian Priest. He can feud with the top-level monsters, including a Goldberg. Cesaro versus Goldberg might be a different idea. It's certainly still a fun one. In 24th, this time staying on SmackDown Live, Kevin Owens. You may think this is quite low for Kevin Owens, but Kevin Owens has been a bit up and down the card recently, and once again, he's one who may be leaving come January, so we do have to take that into account and factor that into our considerations. Kevin Owens is one of those who will never be far away from top-level championships, but also, unfortunately, will never be all that close to them either. It's a difficult position for him to be in. And I think remaining on SmackDown with a few people moved out of the way makes a lot of sense. Once you see the men's division, you'll see a bit more what I'm going for, and I'll be able to tell you a bit more about why I think this makes perfect sense. Riffing says I can say 2 draft picks that will definitely happen. Miz and Kevin Owens changing brands, because these two change brands every year since the brand extension in 2016. Well, so far, Riffing, I certainly have to disagree personally. I have Kevin Owens staying on SmackDown, but keep an eye out because The Miz is on this list. If you are just joining us, I would very much appreciate it if you could click like on the video. That's a big help to me in my personal growth, finding new people to view, finding new subscribers, and eventually, hopefully, making a living and making a life doing this. If you haven't yet, please do consider hitting that subscribe button if you are new here, and hitting the like button if you are not, to help me grow and help me continue to do this as close to full-time as possible. And of course, if you disagree with any of these, let me know. Jump in the chat. Tell me how ridiculous I'm being. Let me know. In 23rd, we have Sheamus remaining on Monday night. Sheamus, for me, has done incredibly well on Raw. Really brilliantly since he returned. I think about 3 years ago he made his formal return. 2 years ago he made his formal return. His feud with Drew McIntyre was extremely well received. His time working against Bobby Lashley was very good, and his time now working with Damian Priest has been extremely well received as well. Really, Sheamus, just as a general rule, has delivered brilliantly in everything requested of him. I want him to continue doing that. I think it is perfect for him to stay on Monday Night Raw, where either he can work with Cesaro again, he can work with Baron Corbin, he can work with Keith Lee, he can of course work a full feud with Bobby Lashley. There's a number of names. Sheamus can be a giant killer if used correctly, and I do believe that's just a great way to use him overall. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. 22nd, this time I picked for SmackDown. Shinsuke Nakamura, the current Intercontinental Champion, remaining on SmackDown in another move that I feel just helps to maintain balance and maintain quality on SmackDown. At the moment, we've moved a few people away, such as Baron Corbin, but we've also added Ali and Mansoor. So far, just based on the numbers we've said there, we have Shinsuke Nakamura feuding with Kevin Owens, Shinsuke Nakamura feuding with Sami Zayn, Shinsuke versus Ali, Sami Zayn versus Ali, Kevin Owens versus Mansoor. For me, we're building something very good there that I think people would really enjoy And a large part of that starts with keeping Shinsuke Nakamura. Noob says, speaking of Miz, he's going to be on Celebrity Wheel of Fortune later on tonight, so hopefully everyone who's watching Extreme Rules better keep an eye on that. The Miz is genuinely the strongest competition that the WWE have ever had at the moment. He's there on Wheel of Fortune, he's there on Dancing with the Stars. He's basically just ensuring that any fans of The Miz don't bother watching. Love that. Absolutely love it. In 21st place, so my pick number 21, Keith Lee to stay on Monday Night Raw. Now this works with a number of people who we already have lined up. Cesaro versus Keith Lee I just think would be fantastic. And there are of course plenty of people that Keith Lee hasn't feuded with on Raw that he could have very good times with. I am looking of course at a rematch for Bobby Lashley and Keith Lee. I think that could be a hell of a lot of fun. And there's a number of other people who could be involved as well. 21, Keith Lee, who I still feel hasn't really had a fair shot and a fair crack at the whip just yet. So to recap those 5 picks. Moving to WWE Raw, Cesaro. Staying on SmackDown, Kevin Owens. Staying on Raw, Sheamus. Staying on SmackDown, Shinsuke Nakamura. And staying on Raw, Keith Lee. I understand if you're worried that there haven't been many moves just yet, there haven't been. But don't worry, the moves will certainly start rolling in faster and faster as we go. Riff says, will WWE still make the draft like the last 2 years where wrestlers will be drafted in the same brand that they are? Yes, wrestlers will be drafted one way or the other. Everyone will be drafted. It won't be a series of swaps, but a series of drafts. That said, we don't know 100% that it will be consistent entirely with what it's been previously, because if Roman Reigns will stay on SmackDown, then SmackDown have got to pick first. It's that simple. For those who don't know, starting in 40 minutes over on twitch.tv/Tom Colohue, check the pinned tweet for more, I will be hosting a watch party for the whole entirety of WWE Extreme Rules 2021. If you haven't already followed, please jump over to twitch.tv/Tom Colohue and do so. In the meantime, as you're watching now, please give me a like on the video. That will help us to find new audience, help us grow, and help us deliver the high quality content that we are looking for. For example, I made a PowerPoint this time, which is over there in stream. I made a PowerPoint and I look forward to making a hell of a lot more of them, because I just think that could be a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed making this, so much so that I had to do it twice. Noob says, don't have Asuka and Charlotte Flair be on the same show again. I don't think that's likely to happen. Their stories are very much being told, but we are where we are. Also, Noob says, Liv Morgan and Carmella is on the pre-show. We did talk about this on Friday, both here on YouTube in my preview. Also, to be fair, on Saturday for Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure, and for the watch-along of SmackDown that we did. This isn't a surprise, and honestly, really news either. Let's move on to our 20-16 numbers. We are starting to get to some bigger names now. People who are undoubtedly going to be in and around championships going forwards. Let's see who we've got, shall we? So, in number 20, The Miz remaining on Monday Night Raw. I think Monday Night Raw needs talkers, and The Miz is the strongest talker, basically in the company more often than not. The Miz, for me, very much stays on Raw. A large part of this as well is Miz and Mrs., which is a USA Network show, so I see no reason for The Miz to move to SmackDown. That said, I kind of hope he would move to SmackDown. I feel he's able to show more of his wrestling talent on SmackDown than he was on Raw, but he's not the only one with that, and I will be mentioning more names that fit that ilk a little bit later. Riffing says, I think that the 205 Live is no longer the brand of the cruiserweights. It starts to be more like a platform for younger talents for NXT. And that's true. We're seeing non-205 weighted wrestlers there. We're seeing women's wrestling there. 205 Live now, there isn't really a cruiserweight division. There just isn't. They are just filling time with it, it seems. Our number 19. And this is a big one. Moving to SmackDown, Alexa Bliss. Now, this gives away a prediction for Extreme Rules. I believe Charlotte Flair will be retaining the championship. Alexa Bliss will lose, or it will be in some way inconclusive. Alexa Bliss will then, for me, move to SmackDown as part of a similar but slightly new look division there. Alexa Bliss moving to SmackDown, moving away from the land of the Giants, where she can deliver matches against smaller opposition. This leaves many opportunities. For example, Zelina Vega versus Bliss. I feel their styles will mesh very well. Liv Morgan versus Alexa Bliss. Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair against Alexa Bliss. There are lots of possibilities there. And honestly, I think Bliss on SmackDown really ups the quality of speaking that they have there. At least in the women's division, where while we've got some good promos, they don't let a lot of the women on SmackDown speak. And certainly they don't let them in a ring on their own. They've only just started doing that with Sasha Banks. Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch have certainly earned that role, but it is rare to see. Alexa Bliss, for me, improves that. Number 18 is Shayna Baszler remaining on Monday Night Raw. Shayna Baszler, if you've been watching over on Twitch for spoiler warning, Shayna Baszler might be about to get a pretty substantial push. And honestly, I think it fits a lot better on Monday Night Raw. I've spoken about some of the people I expect to see remain. Rhea Ripley's name has already been mentioned. Ripley and Baszler have a storied history that I really think will play out very well when they decide to revisit it, whenever that may be. We still have Jax to return from injury whenever that is. And of course, Charlotte Flair, the Queen versus the Queen of Spades, seems made to measure. I'm waiting for it, I expect it, and I want it. Riffing says, is Titus O'Neil still an active competitor? He is. However, he's never been that deeply in ring when he could instead be doing ambassadorial work. Titus O'Neil, by and large, is an ambassador for the WWE rather than a competitor. Number 17 is the Street Profits, so a tag team. Montez Ford, of course, did feature in the main event of SmackDown this week, but I don't see that being a long-term intention. The Street Profits, for me, at least right now, stay on SmackDown Live, anchoring that tag division. We have, as I mentioned earlier, got Mansoor and Ali moving across to SmackDown, and I feel Mansoor, Ali and the Street Profits could also put on tremendous wrestling matches that I just think would be absolutely incredible and well worth the watch. In number 16, so the end of this section, is a move for Rey and Dominic Mysterio, who would be moving from SmackDown to Raw. Now, when it comes to the tag divisions over on Raw, you've got RK Bro, you've got Styles and Amos, you've got Retribution, you've got power players across the board. I feel Rey and Dominic could work extremely well with those, particularly the aforementioned RK Bro. I just feel stylistically they gel very well with the fact that they've got the veteran and the young, hungry up-and-comer. The Rey and Dominic Mysterio storyline will continue to play out. My belief is that come around a WrestleMania time, we will see a Mysterio versus Mysterio match without anyone turning heel. Mysterio versus Mysterio, which Dominic will win, retiring his father, and it will end with the two of them hugging in tears in the middle of the ring. That's my expectation there. I thought I would jump. So those five are, in 20th, The Miz, staying on Raw. 19th is Alexa Bliss, moving to SmackDown. In 18th, Shayna Baszler, remaining on Raw. 17th, The Street Profits, remaining on SmackDown. And in 16th, Rey and Dominic Mysterio, moving to Raw. So we're seeing a few changes in the tag division, and we're starting to see changes in the women's division as well. No real big names moving in the men's division just yet, but their time will come. Riffing says, should Parker Boudreaux get drafted to the main roster? Absolutely not. He hasn't even wrestled on NXT yet. Let's let him have some matches and then work it out from there, is my opinion. For anyone unaware, you can subscribe right here on YouTube for daily wrestling news videos, and quite a few live shows are expected to be launched in the near future as well that you guys can enjoy right here. You're going to be seeing more of this face live than you have been doing previously. We've also got over at twitch.tv/Tom Colohue a live watch party for the entirety of Extreme Rules, which we will be starting in just over half an hour. So if you haven't followed already, jump on over to twitch.tv/Tom Colohue and click the follow button. While you're here, if you have not yet subscribed, please do so. And if you've not yet hit that like button, please do that as well, as it really helps us to grow, find a new audience, and potentially help me make a living. Noob says, I see Io Shirai getting drafted to the main roster. I do as well as Dakota Kai. I think there's a pretty high number of NXT talent who will be getting drafted to the main roster in the upcoming draft. I'm looking forward to that. So let's get to the second half of our draft from 15 to 11. Once again, the names are getting bigger from now. They get some surprises, either staying or changing. Number 15 is Damian Priest, staying on Monday Night Raw. This is, of course, largely to balance the fact that Shinsuke Nakamura, for me, would be staying on SmackDown, which means that the Intercontinental and United States Championships will still be broken up. That is an integral element for me. Those two championships should not be on the same brand, and this basically guarantees that. Damian Priest staying on Monday Night Raw, where he can have that feud with Baron Corbin that I mentioned earlier. He can wrestle against Cesaro. He can wrestle against people other than The Miz and Morrison, and honestly, as he develops, he can wrestle against your Drew McIntyres, your Bobby Lashley's, your top level talent as well. I wouldn't be too surprised if in the near future, once Bad Bunny returns maybe, we get Damian Priest versus Brock Lesnar as well in some capacity. Don't quote me on that, but it wouldn't surprise me. My number 14 is for the tag division, but also for the singles division once again. It is AJ Styles and Omos. This would mean AJ Styles moving back to SmackDown, where I personally believe he has done the best work of his career. For me, AJ Styles is a huge deal on SmackDown, but on Raw, just another body. From where I'm sitting, that's not quite good enough. AJ Styles could, of course, wrestle in the singles division as well. Omos could as a spoiler with big contrast, but I think Styles versus Zayn, Styles versus Owens, Styles versus Ali and Mansoor, it opens up a lot of options, especially when you consider you've still got talent like Finn Balor. We could get a proper Styles versus Finn Balor feud, but only if Styles moves. Number 13 is RK Bro, the current tag team champions on Monday Night Raw. I can see RK Bro staying with Monday Night Raw. It's one of those things, just makes a lot of sense to me personally. Randy Orton is a veteran and a locker room leader and can really steer the ship. Matt Riddle is doing extremely well at the moment, and expectations are that he will continue to do so. It is perfectly logical to have them stay, especially when fans are really reacting very, very strongly to RK Bro. The more the merrier, and the better it can be. Riffing says, I always had the feeling, have the feeling that Vince can cancel NXT whenever he wants, with ease based on his moods. Well, he could, I just don't see why he would. It's literally making him money. Noob also says, better yet, a Bullet Club reunion. That would also be very cool, and definitely a good shout there. AJ Styles and Finn Balor, and maybe Omos with them, would be great. If you put those two with Mansoor and Ali, for example, you've got a dominant faction right there, so it's a good shout, Noob. Number 12, Drew McIntyre moving from Monday Night Raw to SmackDown Live. Drew McIntyre, for me, has done everything he possibly can on Raw, and he needs a move to freshen things up, to make some changes, to get him some new opponents as well. McIntyre, for me, still has a lot to offer and a lot to deliver, and my expectation is moving to SmackDown, working with Styles, working with Zayn, working with Owens could be an extremely strong change for him, and that's before you get higher up the card, where of course he still has some unfinished business with Roman. Drew McIntyre, I think, would be good comparatively, a good change, so it makes the most sense to me. Hello Michael, thank you for joining us and supporting. I know you were there for the Twitch one, so it means a lot to me, thank you. Michael says there's nothing else for Drew to do on Raw, which is absolutely true. Absolutely true. There's absolutely no getting around it. If there's a CM Punk and Colt Cabana back on good terms, I am not sure, mate. Genuinely not sure. But I do believe, even if they weren't, CM Punk would still have joined AEW because ultimately it's just one bad situation. In number 11, another big change. Bianca Belair moving to Monday Night Raw, giving away my prediction for who's going to leave as a SmackDown Women's Champion as well from Extreme Rules. Bianca Belair has done extremely well on SmackDown. She's taken out Sasha Banks. She's taken out Bayley a number of times. She's now working with Becky Lynch. That's 3 of the 4 horsewomen. My expectation is that she will be moving across to Monday Night Raw. Take on the 4th. Maybe not immediately, but certainly working towards a feud between Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair. Bianca, for me, moves to Monday Night Raw away from the 3 of the 4 horsewomen she's already faced and onto new horizons. I also feel pretty confident we're going to see a body slam on Nia Jax and so on and so forth. Michael says splitting up Bianca and Montez. Yes, I am indeed doing that. I do feel with the situation with the coronavirus, the WWE are much more open to people taking time off, and there are going to be a lot less regular live shows in the future. With that reduction, couples will get to spend more time together. However, I don't know how that's going to go long term. Based on storylines and intentions there, I do indeed have a split across brands for Bianca Belair and Montez Ford. So to summarise those 5 moves, we have Damian Priest remaining on Raw, AJ Styles and Omos moving to SmackDown, RK Bro staying on Raw, Drew McIntyre moving to SmackDown, and Bianca Belair moving to Raw. That is 4 names crossing the barricade, as it were, and presenting something very, very different and really, really different looks on each brand. We also have the opportunity, just from the names there, of McIntyre versus Omos, which I can't be the only one who just thinks that sounds like real fun. You know? For me, that just sounds. We're now at the top 10. Our top 10 when it comes to the draft of who I expect to be placed where. You guys need to start thinking about what surprises might be in store, because although one of you definitely was in the show yesterday on Twitch, most of you do not know what's going to be the top names here, and that's a very exciting prospect for me at least. So, number 10 is the Hurt Business, this meaning Bobby Lashley and MVP. The Hurt Business staying on Monday Night Raw. I've spoken about Raw being the land of the giants, and I've spoken about trying to keep it that way. With McIntyre moving away, Bobby Lashley will have one less competitor that he's already feuded with. He's still got Randy Orton, he's still got plenty of other people. Big E is the obvious choice right now, because obviously Big E has just gained the WWE Championship from Bobby Lashley. Lashley has unfinished business. I've already seen him against Finn Balor, who's someone at the top of SmackDown right now. I've seen him against Sami Zayn. I haven't seen him against Styles, but that's heel versus heel and doesn't really work out in that regard either. So, for me, logically, Bobby Lashley and MVP stay on Monday night. Riffing says, I've noticed that since 2020, WWE have debuted on the main roster NXT stars that never appeared on TV, aligning themselves with established stars. This was like Omos, Aziz, Reggie, and Boogs. He says Googs, but I'm guessing you mean. That is true, they have been considering that, and it's just one of those. There is a definite mentoring situation going on at the moment in the WWE, which is proving effective. I think that's one of the best things to say about it. It's proving effective. We are getting talented people through, even though maybe they aren't being developed in NXT. A large part of the reason for this, of course, is that Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard don't believe that NXT is actually developing people as they should. In number 9, staying on SmackDown, Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks is synonymous with SmackDown now. She is a huge part of the A show, and it needs those leaders at the top. Sasha Banks, for me, stays on SmackDown Live, probably spends a lot more time as a SmackDown Live Women's Champion. I've mentioned Land of the Giants for the women as well. SmackDown, for me, is going to be the opposite of that, as you'll see from a lot of the booking decisions I've made when it comes to the draft. Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss get to renew hostilities with a very different Alexa Bliss, and smaller wrestlers get to work together as well. Alexa Bliss might be there replacing Bianca Belair, but as long as we've got Sasha Banks, I feel that the future of SmackDown is in very safe. In number 8, Edge moving to Monday Night Raw. Whatever has been reported in the past about Edge's contract seems not to be the case, because the guy is wrestling pretty much non-stop over on the SmackDown side. He's already wrestled at the top against Roman. He's already wrestled against Seth Rollins. While I'd like to see Edge against Finn Balor, I do feel the right move is to move Edge across the Raw. Even though he's not one of the giants, I do feel Edge has a lot of people he could work against. Spear versus Spear for Bobby Lashley, for example, as well as plenty of people a little bit further down the card. I'd like to see Edge give a little bit more back against people the caliber of Damian Priest, the caliber of Baron Corbin, the caliber of Cesaro and Sheamus, who are on their way to, if not close to, championship. Michael says, do you think Alexa will become champion again sometime soon? I'm not so sure. Yes, I do believe she will. Not too soon, but relatively soon, certainly. At number 7, I have Seth Rollins remaining on SmackDown. Not too many big changes coming in this particular section, but as I've mentioned, you look at the roster that we're building on SmackDown. Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, AJ Styles, Drew McIntyre. Lots of potential, lots of possibility there. Feuds, and just for different presentation of what's already happened. I'm a big fan of Seth Rollins, as most of you will know, and I'm still upset that we haven't got a longer Seth versus AJ match and a longer Seth versus AJ feud. That was WrestleMania main event worthy for me for a long time. When we finally got it, it was an extremely good match. Just the one. I'd love to do it again. And in 6, even though he's technically a free agent right now, for Monday Night Raw, the Beast, Brock Lesnar. I have Lesnar moving to and staying on Raw. I believe he may already technically be on Raw, but that's where I've got Brock Lesnar at the moment. That also means we would then have on the same brand Brock Lesnar and Big E, Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar and Cesaro, Brock Lesnar and Damian Priest. There is a lot of potential there for new and different Brock Lesnar feuds. As you know, I definitely want to see Brock versus Bobby. This gets us a lot closer, a lot faster for that. So to recap, 10 to 6, that is Hurt Business staying on Raw, Bobby Lashley and MVP. Sasha Banks staying on SmackDown, Edge moving to Raw, Seth Rollins staying on SmackDown, and Brock Lesnar staying on Raw or going to Raw, whichever it may be. Riff has asked when did Vince start hating Batista? He didn't. Vince loves Batista. Vince absolutely loves Batista. Don't think otherwise, mate. He would do anything right now to get Dave Batista as involved in WWE as possible. Just Batista himself is not interested at all. Michael says, is Brock draft eligible? He seems like someone who will appear on both shows. I think Brock Lesnar, if he could appear on both shows, they would use him in that way and just have him a month here, a month break, a month there, a month break, and so on. I just don't necessarily think that's something that Brock is going to want. It doesn't make that much sense to me for Brock to be doing that, because Brock himself has, as we know, a huge say in what he does with his own time and going forwards. Brock Lesnar for me is one of those that he'll want to pick a brand and stick to it, and Raw needs him a lot more than SmackDown. We are into our final 5, so for one final time, if you are not already aware, we will be hosting a full Extreme Rules watch party, which will start an hour before the pre-show. We'll be starting in about 20 minutes over at twitch.tv/Tom Colohue. If you've not already gone over there and hit follow, what are you waiting for? Please do so. We'll have a 5-hour show at least tonight to sink your teeth into. If you are new to this YouTube, you can subscribe here to get daily wrestling news, some live stream previews, predictions and reviews. I'm considering very much doing an Extreme Rules review tomorrow, 6 PM UK time, 1 PM EST, that you may quite enjoy here on YouTube as well. So please do consider checking that one out. And if you're a regular here, please do remember to click like on the videos. They are a big help to me. Today's news video, by the way, as of 4.5 hours ago, was about the return schedule of Bayley. If you haven't already seen it, I do implore you to check it out. There is a lot of good stuff in there and a lot of potential spoilers, which Bayley herself has been tweeting about today. Riffing says, is WWE official the new name for general manager? No, there is no general manager at the moment. They're doing that intentionally. They don't want to go back to that time when they had general managers. They feel it was a less popular. Noob says, will both Bailey and Asuka eligible for the draft even though they're both injured? I don't believe they will, but they could be. They will only be mentioned, in my opinion, if they're being drafted to the other side. As I said before, I do think Asuka is going to get drafted to SmackDown, but I don't have her listed here in this top 30 because ultimately she's not top 30 for me, based on what's happening with her at the minute. The problem there is the booking, to be clear. The booking, not Asuka herself, who, as many of you know, I am a big fan of. I just don't think she's been used particularly. Riff says, is WWE considering bringing back Manu for the Bloodline? No. Not right now anyway. It's far too early. Far too early. We are through to our final 5. I would imagine most of you are fully aware of the top names who have not been mentioned so far. You're just not entirely sure what order they're going to come into. Not drafted yet are our champions. Well, yeah, just our champions. So, which order are they going to come in? Let's find out. In number 5, we have The New Day staying on Monday Night Raw. This includes our current WWE Champion, Big E. Also includes a former WWE Champion in Kofi Kingston and future King of the Ring, Xavier Woods. All 3 of them, for me, stay on Monday Night Raw. This would be a move for Big E technically, but as WWE Champion, I believe he has to stay on Raw anyway. And if you have been watching this YouTube, I did report about Big E winning the championship on Raw and then becoming a Raw choice anyway. I was just, when I did report it, the news was that it would be at the draft, rather than, as it turned out, just before it to pop a rating when they started to struggle. The New Day staying on Monday Night Raw in the number 5 draft pick. Possibly new, we'll have to wait and see, but I can only speculate at this point. Michael says, does the King and Queen of the Ring start this week? I do believe it will be formally announced with the draft, yes. The finals are expected to take place in Saudi Arabia. However, the actual tournaments are not planned to take place. Number 4 is our... Oh, that gives away a prediction. Sorry guys, I got something in my eye. Number 4 is our returning Demon King Finn Balor remaining on SmackDown. Now, I'd imagine you've been looking at the roster as I've been building it and seeing what I've been going for, but it is built around Finn Balor. You can have Balor Styles. You can have Balor versus Ali. You can have Balor against Kevin Owens, who I feel are long overdue an actual feud to sink their teeth into. You can have all of those combinations, and it would be really incredible matches. Sorry guys, I just need to wipe my eye. There's definitely something in it, and I don't really know what to do about it. Apologies. So our number 4 pick is Finn Balor, the Demon King. This may give away a prediction slightly later. Riff says, what happened with Shane McMahon? He went home and he just hasn't been called on since, essentially. So nothing particularly special, nothing really outlandish. He just went home. Our number 3 pick is a current women's champion for Monday Night Raw, Charlotte Flair, remaining on Monday Night Raw as the apex of a very brutal, very physical will preside over a division including Bianca Belair, Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Rhea Ripley, powerhouses all across the board. That is what I have for Charlotte Flair. That is what I believe will be Charlotte Flair's future at the very top of a very strong Raw women's division. In second place, the second choice pick for SmackDown Live, Becky Lynch. Current SmackDown Women's Champion Becky Lynch, based on this mock draft, will be staying on SmackDown as the champion and shifting Bianca Belair straight out of the door, straight across to Monday Night Raw. Becky Lynch remains as the number 1 pick for SmackDown, presiding over a women's division that includes Sasha Banks, so potentially more hostilities between Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks, new feuds between Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss, a very different Alexa Bliss at that, and this is a Becky Lynch who won't be scared of a goddamn doll. Which leaves our number 1 pick, an obvious choice if you guys have been following over on Twitch and seen how often I've been speaking about this. Our number 1 pick, the Bloodline, including Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso. All 4 men would move across to Monday Night Raw. This would mean Finn Balor winning tonight, and my god, he is not the favourite to win at Extreme Rules tonight, but I still have Roman Reigns, Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso, the Bloodline, moving across to Monday Night Raw, taking Paul Heyman with them, for feuds with Brock Lesnar, for feuds with Bobby Lashley, for feuds with many other people further down the card, such as Sheamus, such as Priest. I think Raw desperately needs Roman Reigns and the Usos at the very top. Michael says the Man vs. the Boss Part 2 will be great. I do wish, but you never know, they may revisit it in a year or so, and I feel that will be something very powerful and very worth seeing. So, one last recap for our top 5. In 5th, The New Day remaining on Raw. In 4th, Finn Balor remaining on SmackDown. In 3rd, Charlotte Flair remaining on Raw. 2nd, Becky Lynch remaining on SmackDown. And in number 1, The Bloodline, Roman Reigns, Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso moving to Monday Night. Now, just before we wrap up, I have 3 more screens to show you the divisions for this top 30. Be aware that this is just the top 30. There will still be plenty of movement lower down the cards, but this is just the top level. So for the tag team division, on Monday Night Raw you have the Usos, the New Day, RK Bro and the Mysterios at the very top of that division, which you could get more Usos New Day matches, you could get any combination then with RK Bro, Mysterios versus New Day, and you could continue to have feuds with people lower down the card. Viking Raiders versus the Usos, for example, I think could be a hell of a lot of. Over on SmackDown, presiding at the very top, you have Styles and Omos, the Street Profits, Mansoor and Ali. This of course does not include movements for Otis and Chad Gable. Imagine for a moment Styles and Omos versus Otis and Chad Gable. I think you'd get a great quality wrestling match and a great quality hoss match out of that one. For the women's division, Raw would have at the very top Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, Shayna Baszler and Rhea Ripley, whereas SmackDown would have Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss. There are key changes there. Alexa Bliss adds a lot to the SmackDown women's division. Someone that you could see Carmella, Zelina Vega actually working up the card with, rather than staying where they are, as well as, for example, Liv Morgan. Now obviously Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch are heels at the moment, so Bliss could work with them, but it also means that people like Liv Morgan are guaranteed to get a fighting chance, because they need faces, and moving Bianca Belair leaves that opportunity. Meanwhile, over on Raw, you've got another power player in Bianca Belair to compete with a Charlotte Flair, to compete with a Shayna Baszler, and to earn her way back to the top champion. Then finally for the men's division, on the Raw side, you'll see a very long list. Roman Reigns, Big E, Brock Lesnar, Edge, Bobby Lashley, Damian Priest, The Miz, Keith Lee, Sheamus, Cesaro, Baron Corbin and Jeff Hardy. You'll see some very clear power players in that division, whereas a little lower down you'll get to The Miz, Jeff Hardy, Cesaro is a power player, but maybe isn't the giant that you might expect. That for me is a division that gels, that has consistency, but also that has contrast across. Meanwhile, over on SmackDown Live, Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Shinsuke Nakamura, Kevin Owens, Sami. You've also got Ali in a very similar position. A very, very strong section there for SmackDown. Stylistically, there are 5-star matches in that group of people. There are definitively 5-star matches in that group. John MC, welcome, says Sasha Banks drafted to Raw, Edge on SmackDown, Seth to SmackDown, Big E to Raw, Nia Jax to SmackDown, Finn Balor on SmackDown, Charlotte Flair to Raw, and the whole damn draft for Raw. Well, Raw does need it. I don't think they'll get everyone. They definitely need it. So we are going to wrap it up there. But just before we do, please be aware, if you can click like on the video, please do. That will help it find new viewership going forwards, help us find new subscribers if it's your first time here, or if you haven't subscribed yet, please do click subscribe. That's a huge benefit to me, and you get daily news videos as well, including, as of right now, a video about Bayley's return schedule. In the meantime, pop over to https://www.twitch.tv/Tom Colohue. I'm going to drop the link right here, because in just 10 minutes, we will be beginning a full watch party of WWE Extreme Rules 2021. Please do join us over there for that. In the meantime, I will be back on YouTube tomorrow, 6 PM UK time, 1 PM EST, so please keep an eye out for that. If you've enjoyed this, please click like, please subscribe, please tell your friends. I've been Tom Colohue. I'll see you again, and hopefully I'll see you very shortly for the actual Extreme Rules show. Thanks everyone, had a great time, and I'll see you soon.